the awkward reality for Prime Minister Carney is he governed in campaign poetry against Donald Trump and the United States, and now he has to govern in realpolitik prose.
Well, shoot. Now that we can't be mad at Donald Trump anymore, I guess far left Canada is going to find the next big controversial thing, and apparently that's equality. Yeah, the idea of equality is what's making them squirm now. You really cannot make this up. Wow. I'm Jasmine Lane. Subscribe, like, follow, and comment your thoughts down below. Share this video as well. And did you know that $6.3 billion in dirty money was flagged last year? You'd think, though, with how much the Liberals cheer about protecting our sovereignty, that they would have tightened the rules. Ooh, unfortunately, they didn't, though. They're now parading around about how they're loosening them to attract investment. But hey, they say we have the best GDP per capita in the G7, right? So I guess that's why you have to let a little bit of corruption in. Yeah, it's for the economy. Okay.
It's as clear as mud what's going on, right? So it depends who you're listening to on what day. Like the political minister for British Columbia for this government was on the hurly-burly not a week ago saying with no more pipelines. We've had other members of the cabinet say no more pipelines. You have, reports of assurances that tanker bans will be lifted and that the caps will be lifted, coming from Carney to various premiers. And then, ambiguity in the press conference that you just heard. They're doing this dance of the seven veils here around this stuff. And if you're trying to say at the same time that you want to attract private capital and private sector proponents for this, well, just shoveling more and more ambiguity on what the regulatory framework are and what the rules that those will be operated in, it almost makes you feel like you're killing the projects before they can even come forward. Like, who is going to propose a new pipeline to the West Coast without assurances that the tanker ban will be lifted? No one is the answer. Nobody. And so, they've got to get clear about this. And I'll come back to what I said earlier. I think the lack of clarity isn't that Mark Carney doesn't understand that markets need certainty in order to make investments. I think it's that he also understands that his caucus and his cabinet are very divided on these issues and that those need to be reconciled. You've seen some, former cabinet ministers sort of shunted out the door to diplomatic posts. There's rumors of more of that coming down the pipe. Maybe they're waiting for that before, giving clarity on this because it is so divisive within the ranks. But, clarity needs to come. And this, for it, against it, depending on who you're talking to, that's not helping. It's not helping.
I am truly wondering when more people are going to start realizing that whether or not Mark Carney gets a better deal with Donald Trump doesn't change a darn thing about Canada's core problem. Canada's problem with our economy, with our investment, all these things has almost nothing to do with the United States of America. It's us. We're the problem. It's the red tape, the taxes, the debt, and the leadership that continues to get in our own way.
Building up key Canadian industries.
We know that we can build the best ships, the best planes, the best drones, and have very strong supply chains across the country. We can have researchers, engineers, and welders at work. We will use the power of procurement to create jobs. Because ultimately what I've learned is companies rather have contracts than subsidies from the government.
Wow, it took you this long to realize that. Huh. That's concerning. Melanie Joly announced a couple days back now that they are going to be introducing a three-pronged effort into really bolstering all of the key Canadian sectors and to attract investment. Some of those include protecting jobs through procurement, leveraging tech and energy to create jobs, and aiming to win the global talent race.
More of that, but fundamentally, in terms of creating jobs, what we need to do is we'll have a new defense industrial strategy, which will increase the potential of great jobs for people in different sectors. And my last point is we want to build more great Canadian companies. We have great Canadian companies that have influence in the world, we need more. We need to scale them up, and we need more of that.
Sounds cute until you actually break down how they are applying that, because it seems like they have no idea what they're doing here. We're going to protect jobs, by giving government-backed loans and bailouts to industries hurt by bad policy more than any trade retaliation. Like $400 million to Algoma Steel, conveniently spun as adapting to new markets. Are you really, though? Create jobs, by spending billions on housing, defense, and infrastructure projects that all rely on government procurement to actually get going. So the government hires government to say that they're creating jobs. What about attracting talent, though? Hey, that's got to be a lot easier than the other ones, right? By pitching Canada as a leader in AI and innovation, even though actual innovators are leaving because of over-regulation, high taxes, and censorship laws in some cases as well. The reality check here is that Canada has lost upwards of $49.5 billion in private investment since Mark Carney took office. Federal debt has jumped by over $623 billion this year alone, and private sector job creation is stagnant. Nearly 90% of net job growth since 2020 has been public sector employment. Industrial production has dropped. We have some months where it might rise a little bit and whatever, but it still is not good. It's not trending upwards in some amazing, we got this direction. Foreign direct investment has also fallen, and manufacturing has been hollowed out by U.S. tariffs and our own bad policies that have landlocked our industries. So, Jolie says that she's using procurement to create jobs. What she's really saying is nobody invests here anymore. So the government is going to buy its own products to make us look busy. So hopefully the general public doesn't catch on.
What are the policy measures that you will put in place to attract foreign investors, allow for Canadian companies to grow? Like, what are the mechanisms you're going to use? It can't just be, Canadian companies want to help each other. I would imagine they also want to get something out of it.
Of course. So when you look at the defense industrial strategy, what we can do is to use the power of procurement, because companies at the end of the day, Rosie, want contracts rather than subsidies. They can plan, they can hire people, they can really be able to invest, do more R&D. The other thing also to attract foreign direct investments, and obviously we're seeing that through our major projects, $60 billion worth of private investments in 5 projects that the Prime Minister announced in September. So that's also a good way to attract foreign direct investment. And my last point is we want to make sure we cut red tape, that we're able also to offer stability in terms of the environment, because a lot of investors are looking at different jurisdictions and are thinking that there may be sometimes too much risk because of instability. And so right now, Canada has this great potential of attracting capital from the world because of our stable democracy and our good environment to invest.
What's really interesting talking about diversifying our markets? More private investors. They never really seem to be looking at people in Canada, right? Like, Canada's doors are completely closed to domestic energy investors, to farmers, to small businesses that are drowning in regulation, but wide open to foreign state-backed conglomerates, many of which operate under governments that Canada has publicly condemned. Actually, according to FinTrack's 2024 report, they revealed over $6.3 billion in suspicious foreign transaction, much of which was linked to money laundering and politically exposed individuals from sanctioned regimes took place. And the Liberal government then, under the Investment Canada Act, loosened screening thresholds, which made it easier for state-linked investors from China, from the Middle East, to easily acquire Canadian assets to invest, right? This is something that CSIS, the Canadian Security and Intelligence Services, has warned Ottawa about, that they are not doing enough vetting when it comes to foreign investors and things like that. So, like when she talks about cutting red tape and, we just need to make it a better environment for people, it's not to help Canadian entrepreneurs. It's to help foreign state players buy their way in. And just the hypocrisy about all of this, the same government who crushed domestic oil and gas projects for environmental reasons. By the way, do you want to know why we're so dependent on the United States? It's because they buy like 90+% of our oil and gas. Do you know how much less dependent we would be on the United States and having a good relationship with them if they didn't block all of those projects and continue to do so today? Like, this is just so obviously in your face. They created a major projects office to bypass the old bureaucracy by creating a new bureaucracy, as though that's going to help and make things even more stable. And then she has the audacity to talk about all these amazing things they're doing. This government literally launched a state-funded housing corporation that directly competes with private developers. Make it make sense, because it makes zero sense right now.
And deeper, the other reality is that we're probably going to have a lot of trouble with our auto industry for decades to come if this goes ahead the way it looks like it. And, you know, the awkward reality for Prime Minister Carney is he governed in campaign poetry against Donald Trump and the United States, and now he has to govern in realpolitik prose. And that prose is, we continue to need the United States. It remains indispensable to us. Your last guest was proof positive of that. Despite the appeals of overseas diversification in our trade, the United States is hours away by rail and by truck, and it still is the most lucrative market in the world. So Mr. Carney has to make that clear to Canadians. We still need Donald Trump's America.
But my gosh, we certainly cannot allow the public to focus on any of that stuff. No. We're going to be really mad at Pierre Poilievre instead, because he believes in equality.
Insane, woke DEI obsession is driving people away. Nobody wants to be part of this woke social engineering project that the NDP Liberals are trying to impose.
To be honest, I'm a little surprised that the left is choosing right now to be mad at Pierre Poilievre over DEI policies, especially when you consider that there's a lot of other countries that have scrapped them for very valid reasons, and the fact that Pierre Poilievre has been speaking out against woke identity culture for a very long time. Case in point, that interview with Brian Lilley, which was before the federal election. Nobody's heads were rolling when that first came out, but boy, are they ever today. I wonder if it has to do with the fact that Donald Trump got that peace deal, and now they're like, shoot. What do we talk about? Oh my, equality. We're really mad about equality. That's what it is.
You mentioned DEI quotas are a form of discrimination, effectively, and effectively a form of reverse discrimination. Do you agree that doing this sort of DEI checkbox and all these affirmative statements that they're now requiring in Canada has a chilling effect on research, because you're effectively shutting off half of the population from being able to participate in an honest way?
So yesterday, Pierre Poilievre shared this post where he is endorsing a petition introduced by the MP who was just speaking, Vincent Ho, which is calling for the dismantling of diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in Canada, as well as funding and hiring. And the petition argues that DEI has replaced merit-based hiring with identity politic quotas, costing taxpayers upwards of $1 billion a year just for the bureaucracy to keep it running in the first place.
I think it can chill research in two ways. One of them is by excluding sectors of the population based on their sex or ethnicity or race. But the other is, on top of the preferences, there's a regime that it is a criminal offense to criticize the policy of preferences. We've seen that in the United States. We've seen that in Canada, where people who cast doubt on the policy, who argue against it, get censured, get fired, get canceled, and that adds another layer of chill, probably a more severe chill.
Before we get to the very uneducated and unintelligent responses from the leftists having a meltdown over this, gosh darn, a world with equality is just terrible. You're just like Donald Trump. What? I do want to give you some quick facts first, which is that merit-based hiring is declining in Canada. It has been for quite some time. Actually, the Public Service Commissioner reported that 45% of federal job competitions now include preferential criteria tied to identity categories. So if you're First Nations, if you have a disability, that sort of thing, if you're a woman, if you're non-binary, all of that stuff, what it is that you identify as your culture, you will get priority treatment. You will get priority funding as well in many cases. The results have shown that despite the cost, and internal audits have also shown this, that there's no measurable improvement in outcomes or performance at all. It's just more bureaucracy and a big waste of money. The public opinion polls, according to a Leger poll back in 2024, showed that 62% of Canadians think that hiring and promotion should be based on merit only, not identity. So it's weird in a democracy that the federal government would still be going ahead with these when you have more than half the population saying, no, we don't like this. And the thing about this that's so frustrating is that, you know, critics will say that ending DEI is anti-merit, but those same critics will defend a system that literally eliminates merit-based outcomes. They call it inclusive, even though it excludes every single person who doesn't fit that small box of a checklist. It makes no sense at all. It makes no sense at all. And DEI in its current form, this is a fact, is not about inclusion. It's really just about control. It divides Canadians into categories. I thought it was conservatives who were always so divisive. And it also assigns value based on group identity rather than your ability or your contribution. Every single thing about it is the downfall of humanity as we know it. Isn't it just funny how the loudest, anti-racist, you're an ist or phobe, not me, panic the moment that anybody suggests that all people are equally capable in most situations. Real equality isn't about lowering the bar and giving preferential treatment to people who you view as needing help because you think you're better than them. Okay? It's just believing that every single person can clear the bar if they want to, and if they work hard enough, that the world can be your oyster if you want it to be.
So as a conservative, my husband has been promoting women that deserve to be promoted, celebrating women that deserve it. Meanwhile, when you look at the Liberal Party, what they did to Jody Wilson-Rayl, Jane Philpott. So it really, I'm sorry, I'm going to say it really frustrates me that there's this misconception, because at the end of the day, we believe in meritocracy, and that is the difference. So yes, we have women, he surrounds himself with women, but not because they're women. Yeah. It's because they're kick-ass and they're really good at what they do. And I mean, here I am, I'm a strong, independent woman, and my husband is not hiding me in a kitchen like people will think that that's what we stand for.
I often say that when people ask me, you're so young, how are you conservative? And I'm like, well, it's this crazy thing. I realized that I could be kind and compassionate and want the best for absolutely everybody while still really caring about our economy and not wanting the government to be involved in every mundane decision of my day. So it's a pretty easy choice. We want to be in control of our lives, Of course.
And would you say that Canada is kinder and compassionate after 10 years of Liberal? Like, or that our government is more like, when you see the people who can't feed themselves, or the youth who can't afford homes, or the 25% of people living in poverty, that was never the case when we had a conservative government.
And seriously, if you have to twist such a pretzel, if you have to go so far to try to make this a mic drop win for you, it's usually because you're losing the debate. Patrick on X writes, understand, this ends the debate that Pierre Poilievre's Conservative Party of Canada officially does not support diversity, equity, and inclusion. Clearly, Pierre still hasn't figured out why he lost his riding in federal election. Doing the same this, but expecting Dude, the debate has been ended for a really long time, like over a year, actually. Pierre has spoken about this dozens of times. And it has gotten so unhinged on the left that enough reports were made where a community note was added saying Poilievre endorses petition to dismantle DEI programs in Canada. Oh my gosh, that's just so terrible. The petition launched on X quickly gathered over 10,000 signatures, with supporters citing $1.2 billion in annual taxpayer costs for equity programs. Critics highlighted Poilievre's recent electoral loss in Carleton and a by-election arrangement to secure a new seat as inconsistent with merit principles. Tying Pierre Poilievre and the Carleton versus Battle River Crowfoot situation to DEI or merit is so dishonest, and it's also super irrelevant. Pierre Poilievre didn't take a seat from anybody. He was invited to run in a by-election, which is exactly how parliamentary politics works. Even Liberal ministers, Mark Carney, isn't it weird to you that he announced he was going to be running in Edmonton and then chose to ride in a Liberal stronghold? Crazy how that works, hey? You know, I can guarantee you Chrystia Freeland or Mark Carney, all of those people would do the exact same thing if their home riding shifted or dissolved entirely as it did during this campaign for Pierre Poilievre. That's normal politics, by the way. That's not hypocrisy, and it's also not the first time that that's ever happened in history. So running in a new riding apparently means that you're against merit. Excuse me? Someone tell the Liberals, who have done that for decades, by the way, that the difference is that Pierre Poilievre didn't need a cabinet appointment to keep his job. He earned it based on his ideas and took it somewhere where people shared those same ideas. It's really not that deep. Oh, and for Don Bradshaw's comment, end DEI, another example of Pierre parroting Trump. Grow up, dude. Holy crap. Are we still going on about this already? Get a hobby. Like, come on. Criticizing billion-dollar government inefficiency doesn't make you Trump, as though that's a bad thing. It just makes you awake and aware. And as frustrating as this is to go through at times, because you just sit there and you're like, whoa, I can't believe people like this exist and proudly say these things. I do actually feel kind of hopeful by it, because it really highlights they got nothing left. Like, nothing left. And I think we're going to be just fine in a few years. I really do. When I see stuff like this that's so cringy and just so disingenuous, I'm like, we're fine. We totally got this. Like, you guys are running on absolute fumes. You're twisting yourself into pretzels here. Yikes. Good luck. Pretty sure we're going to be okay. And just a heads up, I will not be posting an episode tomorrow or Thursday. I'm actually heading on a plane in a few short hours here. Lots of fun stuff in the works for you. I can't wait for you to see all of that. But I will talk to you on Friday. I'm Jasmine Lane. Subscribe, like, follow, comment your thoughts down below. Like this video. I already said that. Share it. I didn't say that one. And I will talk to you on Friday.